You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
What's up, the internet? How's it going? Welcome to In Stores this week. What's up, the internet t-shirts are available now on the Experience merch store. Head over to comicshoppingexperience.com or theexplive.com and click on merch store. And you can buy What's Up the Internet t-shirts. You can buy Experience t-shirts. We will soon have Rex Cap t-shirts from the Comic Collectibles show that I spent all night drawing a dinosaur for. So all kinds of fun stuff happening over on the merch store. But this is In Stores this week, where we talk about new books that are in stores this week. And there were a lot of them this week. Like a lot of them. So we're going to have to go fast because we actually have to be out on time now that we're in our new time slot and there's stuff after us. We used to could just kind of go and whatever. Now we got to actually be professionals. And we brought Sean back on. So God knows how that's going to work. This is In Stores this week. Hello, the uncaffeinated masses.
So when is there going to be the Dan Wickline show t-shirts with the animated version of me destroying the city?
When I find out if it's okay to do that.
Why wouldn't there be? I own the artwork.
Because I decided to make new t-shirts last night at like midnight your time.
Yeah.
So I'm still figuring these things out, man. But we will make a Dan Wickline t-shirt, and we will make a Producer J t-shirt. And like I said, I got one. It's a dinosaur. It says recap. It's a Rex, recap Rex. And then I have one that's a hat that says Rex. It's a Rex cap. It's kind of a... but we have What's Up the Internet t-shirts over on the merch store, so check that out. Along with your other Experience swag. Hats are back in stock. If you've been like me, waiting to be able to buy a hat, back in stock.
Nice.
So, we have a lot of books to get to this week. John says that now that Sean is back, he can die in peace. I hope you're not dying, John.
Seriously. Yeah.
I really do hope that you're just overwhelmed by the number of books this week, much like we are.
Thank you, Stevie.
All
What's
right,
up, buddy?
let's do the thing.
Yes.
Let's start here with Heart Eyes number 4. Is this the end? Please, God, say it's the end.
No, I think there's one more.
I'm the only one that likes this book. I'll go ahead and go first. I'll go first on this one. I like this story. And every issue makes me like it more. I can't explain it, but the more we find out about Lupe, the more interesting she is to me. And that reveal near the end just ramped up my excitement for the next issue. I really can't wait to see where the story goes. So go on and hate on it, guys. Go ahead.
I just want to know why through most of the book she's in a tank top and shorts, and suddenly we're in this weird like dream segment and she's in a tank top and her underwear.
Well, look at the cover.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I know the last issue I had said that was the first one I had read, but at least finally the story went somewhere this time. I feel like it could have gone here an issue sooner, maybe 2, based on what y'all were saying about the first 2 issues. But at least it finally went somewhere, and something is starting to make sense. So now, finally, it's actually interesting to read. You finally get the mystery of what she really is, even though we all kind of knew from the beginning. So I'm kind of curious now to see what they do to conclude it in the next issue.
Yeah, for me, the reveal at the end was the Captain Obvious moment of the book.
Yep.
Like, it's like, okay. Now, if they had done that in the second issue, do we need 5 issues? No. But I wish they would have done it earlier and then gone somewhere with it, right? And that's why I'm finally over this book. I was high on it the first 2 issues, issue 3 was like, oh, really? Come on. And then this one's like, this is what you should have done 2 issues ago. Now let's move forward. So that's where I become disappointed in this book. I thought it was a good concept. I thought it was an interesting story, but I just think it was maybe poorly plotted.
I felt it was hopeless from the beginning.
Hey, let's not make fun of Dennis's name. It's a man's name, Dan. It's a man's name.
It's not his real name.
Sure it is. He had it legally changed. All right. From the pages of Hellboy, Castle Full of Blackbirds, number 3. And every time I read this book, I get that nursery rhyme stuck in my head about a
420 blackbirds baked in a pie.
4 and 20 blackbirds baked in a pie. So I have to go listen to that song 4 and 20. And it really just gets me off track. I didn't dig the first book. I didn't really dig the second book. But as we continue reading it, I'm getting more and more into it. So issue 2 was better than issue 1. Issue 3, I think, is better than issue 2. So it's building and it's going somewhere. And that, to me, is all I can really ask from a comic.
Again, this is kind of a jumping off point into the series for me. So there's obviously, I guess, a lot, or at least a little bit from the first couple of issues that I don't know about. So it took me a minute to kind of grasp what was going on. But I agree. At least the book actually kept going somewhere throughout. Of course, like most Hellboy books, the art's pretty darn good. I'm just, again, it's being lost, not knowing what's going on, that made it a little difficult to enjoy, probably more than I should have. But like most Hellboy stuff, it is good. I can see why everybody likes this universe.
Well, for me, not any fault of the books, but I found it to be a bit all over the place, and that's because I don't remember the first 2. I know we've read at least one of them. I don't remember them at all. If I had to go off of this one alone, I think this book is the weakest in the from the world of Hellboy stuff. Not saying it's bad. I just not as excited for this one as I am the other ones we've read. I do need to go back and reread this though, so I can, me not remembering, I was kind of lost. So
I feel like I need to start putting the earlier issues when I upload these things.
Yeah, but then we'd have like 75 books to read every week.
Yeah, because Turtles 135 would have taken me some time for the other 134 episodes.
Right.
Issues. Yes. I felt like I like the series, I like the story, and I like the universe that's around it. But this one was a bit talky. I felt like a little more action, a little less dialogue would have been okay. We get to something, but it's not until the end. I feel like we spent a lot of time just on an average day. So I'd like this to move just a little faster. Yeah. That said, I'm enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to the 4th issue. And I'm enjoying all the Hellboy books, but yeah, I'm a little faster, please.
All right, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Armageddon Game 3. Now, I'm going to start by saying this. You guys super rely on me for your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles stuff, and as it relates to Armageddon Game, this is one of those where I need my memory enhancer pill, because it's been so long since number 2 came out that it took me 2/3 of this book to really grasp what I had forgotten. So while my review for this book is negative, that should not be an overwhelming response to Armageddon Game. More to the fact that I expect more from the Turtles.
Well, for what it's worth for me, this is actually the first thing I've read in the entire Armageddon Game series, period, even the prelude stuff. That said, I still had a good time reading it. Turtles books definitely, I guess, so far from reading the few that I have, seem to go a little all over the place, but always someplace at the same time. So seeing where we're going with the different turtles in this issue, I thought it was actually really fun. I don't know much about the Rat King at all, so trying to learn a little bit about him and then get used to the expanded universe. Because I'm not going to lie, I know the TV show and the movies. I did not realize that the universe was this big at this point.
See, I think that's a benefit to Sean from not reading all the other stuff for the Armageddon game, because here's what I'm going to say. Are we there yet? I mean, I'm a Turtle fan, but I'm getting a little bored over here. While it's still good, we're in issue 3 now, plus there was, 2 other stories connected to this? And outside of just an epic final panel, it just feels like more of the same. I'm hoping at least that the next issue or 2, we actually start the battle. Not sure how long this is supposed to run, but I need some action. You know, I'm more of a Connect 4 person, not a chess person. And I need action in a book that's titled Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Armageddon Game. I like it, but I need some action in it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Jay. I look at this as, I'm going to use a baseball analogy here. We're being told that Armageddon Game is going to be the World Series for the Turtles, but so far all we've gotten are the winter meetings. They're just building the team at this point. They're doing the behind the scenes stuff. They're doing the, oh, we just drafted this guy, and oh, we just made a deal to get Trey Turner for 11 years. Can we get to the actual Armageddon part? I mean, you said you likened it to chess. At this point, they're still just dusting off the pieces. They haven't even put them on the board yet. So, and the fact that this ties into the main series, which we're going to review in a second, and then there was a prequel, like 2 prequel episodes, and it's way too much foreplay.
There are at least 6 issues in the Armageddon game series.
You might get it by issue 6 then.
Well, and here's something to note. The first 2 issues came out in September and October. There was a break to get now to December, and then we get a book every month now through March. So I'm hoping that is an indicator that they're going to ramp up. Okay. The previous book tied to this book, but if you haven't been reading the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for, I would guess, 20 or so issues before this one, it's going to seem a little nonsensical.
That said, though, I still thought this was better than Armageddon Game number 3. It at least had a little more to it, a little more action. I thought the characters were just a bit more intriguing. It's nice to finally see Jenica in a book. I'd heard about this turtle for quite a while, had not actually seen them. And then like the fox that's a ninja in there? That was pretty cool. So just a lot more characters being shown, and then at least a little more being done, especially with Donnie's little experiment that he's running. I've always loved Donnie, so he's always been one of my favorites. So just seeing him tinker around and use his brain is always intriguing to me. So, but that said, I think this was actually a better read than Armageddon Game.
When did Donnie become Tony Stark?
He kind of always was. Like, if the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are just a anthropomorphized version of the Marvel Universe, because let's be real, they are. Then he always kind of has been.
Who's
Okay.
Michelangelo?
Hmm?
And who's Michelangelo?
Also Tony Stark. Like, this is the problem, is that when Kevin and Peter created these guys, they're like, okay, what if the stuff from Daredevil got on some turtles? And then we made them all Tony Stark.
This book kind of reminded me of 2 things. And for me, it wasn't it wasn't Tony with this stuff, it reminded me of Doctor Strange, at least the coloring of it. And an old Turtle storybook where there's an artist named Kirby that has this little stone attached to a pencil. He draws stuff, it comes to life. I think it sucks Michelangelo into this world. It's one of the Turtles. Really old storybook. But the art's fantastic in this, and I will have to agree. I followed the story. It wasn't as boring to me as Armageddon game was, so I like the story in this one. And once again, that both of these books, the final panels on both of them were just fantastic to me. So I enjoyed it.
Dan?
Having read the last few issues, I'm starting to catch on. I am fascinated by the fake turtles terrorists. But it just feels like we're dragging here. We really should get somewhere. And I remember I saw the checklist, and there was also supposed to be a alliance thing that has like 1 or 2 episode issues. I don't even remember seeing that. So are we missing part of the series? Which it's like, how much slower could it be going if there's a third thing? I mean, geez.
Yeah, they got to spread it around, and it's not good. All right. Next up, Hellboy in Love.
Yes.
There were a lot of goblins this week. Can I just point that out? Like,
yes,
we have many goblins.
And then isn't the word of the year for the dictionary goblin something?
I don't know.
Goblin life, or basically, yeah. I'll have to look that up in a second. But this picked up from, we really liked the first issue. This is a lot of fun. I like seeing Hellboy kind of getting a romantic side again. The girl's flirting with him through the whole thing. I thought the goblins were actually fun. My only problem with the whole book, the art is great, the story's fun, dialogue's cool, but the ending just like, boom, we're there. It's like it just suddenly ended. And not just, it's like, no, it's just a 2-parter. We're done. We're out of here. It's like, wait, but really, is there some fallout from you bidding $125,000 or whatever it is of nothing? Just you bid, you won, it's over?
Yep. Museum covered it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jay.
Okay. Because I got to say, man, I love the goblins, y'all. I love them. I know maybe we're not supposed to, but I do. I mean, just the mannerisms and just the way they talk. I love them. I kind of wish that they were going to be in this more. Maybe they are. Who knows? But oh man, I again really dug this story. Love the first one. Love this one, and the chemistry between Anastasia and Hellboy is just so palpable. And I actually really loved. I know it was a quick ending, but I love the happy ending for Hellboy in this. I'm looking forward to the next 3 issues.
The word of the year is goblin mode.
Yes. I just looked that up too.
A type of behavior which is unapologetically self-indulgent, lazy, slovenly, or greedy, typically in a way that rejects social norms or expectations. AKA what people like myself used to just call being eccentric.
Right, but it's the opposite of the what's going on with all of the TikTokers and influencers and stuff. It's the opposite of that.
Correct, but I live my life in goblin mode, Dan.
Yeah. I think we all do.
Yeah.
We used to just call it being eccentric, but no. Now
Yeah.
I'm a goblin. I liked these goblins. I did not like this story. I don't know. The first one was just kind of meh to me. This one was just also meh. I
You
prefer
don't know
Hellboy.
true love.
Well, that's fair. I prefer Hellboy when he's, fighting a demon or something. I prefer Hellboy in the kind of Ron Perlman-y way of Hellboy.
Rather than him
This,
fighting off a blonde.
yes. If I want to see people fight off blondes, I'll watch Grey's Anatomy or something. I don't know. Are there blondes on Grey's Anatomy?
Probably.
I don't know. I don't need a love story from Hellboy.
To me, I don't know. I'm having a blast reading this. This is just fun, lighthearted. You can almost turn your brain off just to have a good time. I agree. The chemistry between Anastasia and Hellboy is great. The goblins were. I was dying at some points in this book, laughing. It was great. I agree with Dan though. The ending there did seem to be like, okay, really? So I'm hoping next issue maybe there's something where between the time that they last saw the case and they get to the auction, maybe they took whatever was inside of it out, and then the next issue that's going to be what happens next, kind of thing, or are they just going to make this a couple of small short stories between the two throughout whatever 5 issues this is supposed to be?
Is it 5? Oh, you're right. I thought it was just 2. Okay. I stand corrected. Well, actually, I said corrected.
All right. Next up, The Ones, number 2. In fact, this isn't called The Twos.
Jeez.
I didn't like the first issue. You guys did. I didn't. I remember thinking that it was just kind of silly and not going anyplace. But I started liking this one. I think the whole just focusing on one character now and giving us his backstory, like, oh, okay, now it's starting to make a little more sense. The prophecies, the stuff. And I like the ending, where the guy shows up that they've been trying to get to. So from that point of view, the book got better. So, and I like Jacob's artwork on it, Jacob Edgar. So yeah, this improved quite a bit over the first issue for me. That I'm looking forward to the third one now.
Yeah, I'm with Dan. I like it. I liked the first one fine. I thought it was a good concept. I thought it was a fun idea. I like the focusing on each individual character. And I really like the goblin. The Yoda guy, the whatever you want to call him in this book, right? The like, I'm the only one of my kind kind of guy. And by the way, that's his voice. He sounds vaguely like Danny DeVito from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I was thinking Harvey Firestein.
Harvey Firestein also works.
Yeah.
Do I call my lawyer or my mother?
Right. Look, here's the problem. Right. It's that kind of thing. I did definitely enjoy it. And I'm just gonna say it's about time Bendis hit one that was a solid double. Because there have been some real weak sauce coming from Brian Michael Bendis lately. And this one seems to be a solid double up the middle, and I'm excited for it. I don't know which character I want to learn more about next, but definitely if you read it with the character we followed in this story having Owen Wilson voice, and the other guy having Harvey Firestein or Wolowitz's mother from The Big Bang Theory's voice.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
It definitely makes it stronger.
Yeah, you just got to listen to him talk like this on screen. Yes. Me personally, like I said in the first issue, it was slow up until about like the last 2 pages, and then all of a sudden it got interesting, or at least right around the time they were eating the Chinese food. And then this issue took what the chaos was at the end of the first one, and then they turned it up to 11 throughout this entire thing, and I had a blast. I'm with y'all on the voice for the goblin or whatever the heck he is, but the scene between the dude with the sword and the demon on the roof had me rolling on the floor. Like, he was such a bro dude, in my head the way he was talking. I was dying laughing between that back and forth. So I really want to see where issue 3 goes. I think maybe the redhead would be where I'd like to see them go because she had the most dialogue with the character they centered around in this one. So she seems like a logical choice to kind of go to in the next one, it seems like. But yeah, definitely invested.
Can you put number 1 back up on the server?
Yeah.
Cool. I think I'm going to save them off just so that at the end I can binge it again.
Yeah. So this issue opens with Ed Asner and young Ray Gillette from Archer dropping as many needless F-bombs as Scarface. This felt like an Archie book on crack. Now, does that mean that I didn't like the book? Absolutely not. I really dug this book. Now, I didn't get to read the first one because I wasn't on the show when y'all read the first one. But I really want to go back and read it now. This was a really fun story to me. Like I said, when I first opened it, though, those first two, Ed Asner and Ray Gillette from Archer, were the characters that I saw and heard their voices in my head when I was reading it. So, but I really liked it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, first issue going back up now.
Thank you, sir.
Sweet.
All right. Next up, Vampirella versus Red Sonja in a book that is nothing but collars.
Yep. First off, I thought the art was gorgeous in this. I really liked the art in this book. Now, again, this is one of those where I wasn't here to read that one, and I never went back and downloaded it. And I need to start doing that when I miss things. But it had a very Justice League Avengers vibe, and for me right now, and we'll get to it when we get to the other book, Dynamite's batting 1,000 this week for me. I really enjoyed this book. I'll take more of this over some of the other things we've read in the past, to be honest with you. I'll take more of this. Again, the story to me was engaging. I dug the art. The action was great. I just thought this was a really good issue. I enjoyed it.
And Dan will probably remember when we read issue 1 last time, I said I knew nothing literally of any of the characters that were in the book. I had not read any of Project Superpowers, Vampirella, Red Sonja. The good news is, Dan, though, I did get a Dynamite 10-pack, so I'm kind of working my way in a little bit into like 10 different number ones. So things are starting to make a little more sense to me in this issue. That said, I'm with Jay. The book is great to look at, so it makes it very easy to read through. And the way they have Red Sonja talking in this one compared to like that, I got Immortal Red Sonja number 1 is interesting. I hear personally like almost a Russian kind of accent out of her, the way they have the dialogue going. So that's what I'm hearing in my head. I really like it. I really want to know more about the big main thing that's going on the what do they call them? The whatever universe they're in, I guess we'll just go with that. But it is such a good story, and I want to see where the new girl finally comes in, like what she's actually going to do now that she got caught at the end doing what she wasn't supposed to do with Vampirella. But I'm very invested in where this is going. I agree with Jay. It's a Justice League Avengers vibe, but with a very Dynamite twist to it.
Yeah, a lot of the characters in it come from Project Superpowers, which most of them are minor characters. They even, they're Golden Age characters that are in the public domain that got brought forward. Black Terror and Green Llama are probably the two biggest ones from it. Black Terror being the one on the planet, it was his parallel Earth that is being destroyed, and Green Llama is the one that catches Dynamite at the end. So those are the ones that, if you're going to, go look up characters, those are two to look up. But overall, this has been Dan Abnett's little playground where he's been setting this thing up and bringing all these different universes together. and he's doing a really good job of it. I believe it was also the Sonya Versal and the Vampyverse books tie into this and setting all of this up. But I do like how they he's looking at these characters from an outside point of view. You're talking about the difference in dialogue and stuff. How would we look at Vampirella if it isn't her book? How are we looking at Red Sonja if it isn't her book? Because she comes from the Hyperion age. So her language would be different. Her movement, her morality would be different. And that's what we're seeing. And I think that's been a lot of fun. And also, you're looking at a scientific-based world dealing with a vampire in it. Suddenly changes everything too. Now you can turn vampires into scientific characters. It's been done pretty easily a few times, but they're kind of leaving her in the supernatural along with some spells and stuff. And I think it really makes an interesting contrast, makes the characters stand out against these other heroes. And I'm having a lot of fun. By the way, the interior art is by Alessandro Rinaldi, and the cover there is by Lucio Parrillo.
It's a gorgeous cover.
I'm glad y'all like it. It ain't for me. And here's what I mean. I should love Red Sonja and Vampirella together. I should have loved Sonyaverse. Red Sonja is one of my favorite characters, and it was meh. I should have loved Vampyverse. It should be catnip, and it just wasn't. And this is the same thing for me. I don't need cheesecake. Write me a good story. And when you get past the art and you get past the cover, the story is just middling. That's not to say it doesn't have the parts being built in to be a great story. I will 100% continue reading it. But it just, to me, so far, just seems like let's see how many half-naked women we can put on a cover and on the pages of the books, and then throw some bad guys at them. Give me a reason to care. And this book will instantly become one of my favorites. And again, Dan Abnett has that ability. I've seen him do it. I've read him do, So I'm interested to see where it goes and where it keeps going. But right now, it's just not for me.
John has a question.
Me?
John.
Yes.
This one's easy for me. Red Sonja, only because I remember watching Bridget Nielsen in the Red Sonja movie. I've never seen a Vampirella movie, so I got to go with Red Sonja.
There is a Vampirella movie with Talia Soto in it, and Roger Daltrey from The Who.
Huh. Okay.
That was always a weird choice to me, Roger Daltrey.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to read any of the two Vampirella books that they gave me. I got like a year one, and I forget what the other one was. I'm going to say Red Sonja as well. One, because of the movie, and two, because I got Immortal Red Sonja #1, and that was a really good read. I can see why you guys really like this series. So I feel like I've got, how far behind am I on that one? 6 some odd issues? Maybe more. But I definitely want to go at least see if I can find a trade and run through it. So yeah, Red Sonja for me as well.
It's kind of unfair for me because I like both characters a lot. But when I actually write one of the characters, it kind of changes things for me. So until I get to write Red Sonja,
Dan is biased.
So and if you want a Vampy book,
Which one is that one, so I can go look for it?
This is the Blood Dragon. You can get it off of Amazon.
Okay, done.
So for me, the answer comes with caveats. Marvel Red Sonja over Dynamite Red Sonja. And yes. And Warren Vampirella over Dynamite Vampirella. Now, if you compare the Marvel Red Sonja to Warren Vampirella, I think I pick Vampirella. But I've read more Red Sonja books. So I figure out how that all shakes down, and that's the answer. But I prefer Warren stuff to Warren Vampirella to any of the other stuff. So we'll just go with that. All right. I clicked the wrong button. There we go. All right. Speaking of The Who.
Thought that was a good segue.
Yeah.
It's a great segue, Dan. Hell of a segue.
This was the weakest book this week for me. For me, honestly, the story throughout most of it during the flashback, which takes place, which is most of the book, was pretty freaking generic. Almost felt like I was watching a guy's version of Clueless for a little while. And then finally there at the end when they have the event happen, then okay, maybe it might get a little interesting. But for the most part, for me, I was kind of bored reading it. Visually, it wasn't bad. I kind of get where they were going with the art style, but I'm not sure. Like, I'm sure we'll probably read issue 2, and I hope it goes somewhere more than what this one did, because for me, this one was kind of a bit of a mess.
Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of this one either. It was, some folks will say that they're over the end of the world scenarios. On the other hand, I am tired of seeing the cool nerd group that gets picked on by racist, homophobic rednecks. Like, you're nerds, but you're just cool enough to have parties and stuff, and people like you. I was never, surprised. I was a nerd in school, but I was never really picked on. Like, I was friends with everyone. So maybe that's why I don't identify with what these characters are going through. But also, can we stop the starting in the random place for a beginning of a story, and then the fourth wall breaking? Because I could literally hear the record scratch, and the kid be like, "Hi, my name is Javi, and my life is kind of crazy." And then we go back and listen to the events beforehand. I don't know. It just wasn't for me.
I'm gonna let Dan go last, because Dan is the some people who are gonna be tired of the end of the world trope. But so for me, the trope of starting in the middle and going back is tale as old as time, right? That's never gonna stop. That's never gonna go away, and I don't mind it because I get it. Right? You have to know where you are so you can know where you've been, kind of situation. The biggest disappointment for me in this book is I'm tired of and then I blacked out and woke up someplace different story. Right? It's show us what happened. Right? You walk us up to this moment of a fight, this climactic moment, and then I passed out and woke up at the end of the world. Okay, show us how you got there. Are you actually some sort of, demigod that we need to know about? What is this? That's my big hang up with this book. Otherwise, I liked it. Jay's experience in school and my experience in school being nerds were different. I was a nerd who didn't get picked on mainly because I'm the size I am.
Yeah.
But I also had enough friends that I got invited to parties and was able to have parties and that kind of stuff. So it wasn't all that unlike my, and to a point, we also had redneck homophobes where I went to school. So the getting in a fight with them at a party, not something I'm unfamiliar with. So you get to a certain point where you're like, okay, this is just a teenage, a coming of age story or something. Then, end of the world. So that was where it lost me, was the skipping over of an important part of the story.
Yeah, because when you look at it, the cover doesn't even match anything in the book.
Right.
All right, Dan, come on.
Come on, Dan.
I'll tell you the truth. I forgot the opening when I started reading it. started getting into the characters and enjoying them. I liked Javi. I liked his sister, his friends. I liked the fact that they had a brother who was on, or a friend who was on the scale, but they still did stuff with them and stuff like that. If it wasn't for the beginning and the ending, I probably would have liked this book quite a bit. But yeah, it's another post-apocalyptic BS, which I could care less about, but I actually was enjoying the characters, and to me, it ruined a good dramatic comic by, going into this post-apocalyptic stuff. I don't know what happened, and I don't care what happened. I want to know more if the big guy is going to get back with the girl upstairs, and how everybody's going to mesh at the party, and is the sister going to hook up with the friend who kind of floats between groups? That I'm actually more interested in, which is surprising because that's not normally what gets my attention. But I actually like the characters in this story quite a bit. But I don't want another post-apocalyptic story. And it seems like everybody and their brother are doing them nowadays.
Yeah. Super unfair, John. 6, 7. Get out of here with that.
If me, John, and Dan went to an all-you-could-eat buffet, it would single-handedly tank the economy of whatever town we were in. Just gonna throw that out there.
Well, if that buffet involves tacos, Jay can give y'all a run for your money.
We have a minute. I'm gonna tell a story. Very first Astronomicon in Detroit, Michigan, I was the body man for Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. And so I'm 6'2", 300 pounds. They're both big dudes. The two of us, Ryan Hurst, who was Opie and Sons of Anarchy, and Gary Bertier and Remember Titans, Booker T, and Jay Adams, who is Ryan's stand-in stunt double, all went out to dinner with the convention promoter, who's not a small man either. We went to an all-you-could-eat Chinese buffet that had $19.99 all-you-could-eat crab legs. Now, I walk in first, and I go, hi, there's 6 of us. We're all going to get the all-you-can-eat crab legs in the buffet. These other guys come in, and I don't know Chinese, but I'm relatively sure she was cursing her life under her breath when these other dudes walked in. And the next year we went back and that place wasn't still in business. So I don't know how long they lasted, but I'd like to think that we put the nail in the coffin.
That's awesome.
They're like, oh, we're going to work hard today. Oh,
jeez.
Well, it's how many professional wrestlers, because Jay Adams was in WCW, how many professional wrestlers can you take to an all-you-can-eat buffet and have them hope to stay open?
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, so Know Your Station #1. This is a book that was not on my radar until Dan put it in the server for us to read. And I know it's not #1. It's not the last book, which is normally the book I like the most. But I'm so happy we read this book. I love the idea of a murder mystery in space that also takes place in like this Demolition Man sort of, the cop doesn't have a gun because there's no crime kind of situation, right? Like it's a place that's totally not supposed to have murder has had murder, and she's got to figure it out. And that to me is it's a unique take on a tried concept, and so I'm very excited for it.
Yeah. So here's exactly what I wrote: space murder mystery. The AI did it. It's always the AI. Next book. No, I'm just kidding. This was part suspenseful, but part predictable at the same time. There were moments where I was like, I know it's only issue 1. There were some parts I think that could have been left out, I guess is what I'm saying. We have what seems like another reluctant hero that's trying to kick a drug habit, and a few movie tropes where, we're on a super sophisticated spaceship but somehow the cameras are knocked out. They're in that particular time. It's interesting though. It is an interesting book, and I do like it. I do like it. I want to put that out there. I like this book, and I'm definitely interested to see more space murders. And yeah, I want to read more.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
It was Agatha Christie who kept writing the power's out in the castle and the bridge is out and everybody's stuck in the castle. Murder mysteries, right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is an Agatha Christie story in space.
No.
I didn't say it was as good as an Agatha Christie story.
So I'll be a little bit of the negative Nancy. I was honestly kind of bored with it through most of it until they got to that scene where they finally showed, I guess, like the computer image of the victim. Then I was like, oh, this is going to be that kind of thing. I get it now. So then I was kind of invested through the last, I guess, third half of the book, give or take. It's beautifully drawn. I will definitely say that. And if you can get into where you finally get to what's actually happening, I think you'll enjoy this book going forward. Hopefully they do more to explain. Well, we know they are. They're going to explain, I guess, whether she really did it or not, or if it's like Jay said, it's the AI, because the whole drug habit thing and what they reveal at the end of it is kind of like, seems a little overdone in some ways. But still, I think if they do it right, it should be a pretty decent series.
This is a good concept that is well overwritten. This is, and I have a feeling that the writer hasn't done a lot. I don't know who it is, because they spend a lot of time setting up the world. And you're doing a murder mystery. You're not building a universe. And they spend so much time giving us all the different characters in charge on this thing, on the station, that which should be more organically introduced in the story. But it's trying to do a murder mystery, but it's front loading, but it's also trying to front load how different things are. We've got these stimulants, and we've got these things going on and that thing. And he's overwriting the first issue, where it should have been more focused on the murder, the fact that we didn't see it. I would love to have gotten this from him and did an editing pass over it, because there's potential here. But there's mistakes here too. I think it could have been a much better written book.
Sarah Gailey, who writes this book, you may know from Eat the Rich at Boom Studios, or their current run of The Vampire Slayer. She's done a very little bit of work in the Buffy universe and written one episode of Steven universe.
Okay.
But mainly it's Eat the Rich and Buffy. So yeah, I could see this one being, I mean, their first published book was only 2019. I could see this being someone who maybe this is their first time world building.
Yeah.
So
they're world building, but they're trying to world build in the middle of a murder mystery, and it's a different type of world building. It could have been done a lot more streamlined and more interesting. It's why Sean didn't get interested until the end.
Right. All right. So we have 10 minutes and 3 books.
All right.
Gargoyles number 1.
Yes.
Short version. A little too much time spent on reestablishing all the connections. But when they weren't doing that, it was very cool, and I look forward to reading more.
Yes. Starting out with the opening monologue from the TV show right off the bat, chills. I heard it in Keith David's voice. I remember that verbatim. I was super excited for this. It did not disappoint me. There's a lot of callbacks. but they also introduced some new characters to keep it fresh to me, and I'm super excited to see where the series goes. I was number one book for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of in between Jay and Dan. I agree. It took a little too much time trying to reestablish who we already knew. I feel like they could have just done that in a page or two and then bring in the new characters, and that's fine to explain a little more. But that said, when they weren't doing that part of it, it was a classic Gargoyles kind of story for me, and I had a blast. I would love the cartoon. I think I'm really going to enjoy this series. So if you like the series, you're going to like this for sure.
For me, it was a little too much Dynamite, not enough Disney. In that it's, the main character has to be dating Goliath. Like, it's like, I'm going to make out with a gargoyle now. Like, really, a little more Disney, a little less Dynamite. And I wish it would have been written in Gargoyle in Goliath's voice. Was the only two nitpicks I have. And if those are my only two nitpicks on a book with things that were so integral to my childhood, you've hit a out of the park home run.
It is being written by Greg Weisman from the original series, from the animated series.
Right. It's an out of the park home run. I have nitpicks. They're not big problems. Very small little problem.
Okay.
But otherwise, just an absolute slam dunk. Frank Miller's Pandora, number 1.
I finally got to read a Frank Miller book. I'm so happy. I will say this. While I was a bit confused reading it, I still really enjoyed it. I just hope that at least by the next issue I can understand a little more about what Frank is trying to do with this story. I actually watched the interview with Frank and Emma. And I can very much see where she sees a lot of herself in how she drew this book and in the main character. But overall, it's beautifully drawn, and the going back and forth between the two worlds at first seemed weird because I wasn't sure if she was dreaming it. But then I actually kind of realized, no, these are two different things actually happening once the little mystery character shows up in the forest. So, but I think it's pretty good. Definitely want to see where it goes in the next issue.
Yeah, I didn't write any notes on this one. I enjoyed the story. I just felt like it was too long. I liked the art, all that. I maybe having it in a 2-issue break would have been better for me, but I felt like it was too long.
I like the art. I think the word confusing is probably the word of the day for this book. And every character seemed to need to be eccentric or over the top. So I really had a hard time connecting with any of them. And overall, it didn't click for me. This just isn't a book for me.
Yeah, I can see why this is not a book for Dan. It's everything I was looking for in a book called Pandora from Frank Miller and drawn by Emma Kubert, right? It's literally all of the things. I think that the Frank Miller Presents books are going to suffer from first issue too long syndrome. Right? It's the same problem that Zenescope falls into when they try and make every book 60 pages or whatever. You have so much room that you sometimes wander through your story instead of telling a tight 22-page story. Right? And I think these books are going to suffer from that. That's why I'm glad that the issue 2s come back down to regular size. I like the idea of, the two different worlds, and that this girl is perhaps part of the bridge to both of them. That is kind of implied in the book. I'll be interested to see where they go. And like I said, I think anytime Frank Miller writes something that doesn't make me want to go out and drink hard liquor and drive my car too fast and get in a gunfight in the Old West or whatever, it makes me happy. And so the fact that this isn't Sin City really means that it can do no wrong. And last, this week, this is the book that shocked me the most that I liked. Dahlia in the Dark.
Yeah, this is good.
You didn't spell it right in the list.
I copied your list.
Did I ever say I could spell? I'm a writer, for God's sakes.
No, that's why you have an editor. But
Exactly.
just so you know, we both need one.
Yes.
So
I actually thought this was pretty good. Like it's definitely kind of an interesting story, one that you have kind of seen. Person has a package, transporting it across country. People are after him, but in a very sci-fi way. So I like that twist to it. This was probably artistically, this is probably my favorite book to look at the entire week. So on that front, that's probably where I liked it the most. They definitely seem to introduce a lot with the story. So hopefully they clean some of that up and go in a direction in issue 2. That way, at least I can kind of stay interested.
yeah, I found the book interesting. It has a very familiar feel to it, though, with the humans and mythological creatures existing on the same plane. Not a concept that hasn't been done before, but I felt like this was done pretty good, pretty well. It left me with some questions, and I'm hoping that the next issue answers them. But yeah, I didn't think it was bad.
I liked it, but it felt like it was missing something. I think what brought it home for me was what the package was, and that kind of got my attention. Up until then, I was kind of mediocre on it. Like, okay, you got me enough that I want to read issue 2, and I'm trying to figure out what the hell car that is in the front cover, and it looks like an old Chevy Vega, but the grill is wrong. So I'm going to be
split up.
Yeah,
What?
I think it's a split bumper Camaro or a Nova.
No, it's Camaro.
No, that's not right for Camaro either.
No, that's a split bumper. That's pretty close.
It's a car in a comic book, y'all.
It's true. It's true.
True. But it to me it reminds me of like a 70.5 to 72 Camaro.
All right. So because we only have a minute, I'm going to go really fast on my read of this book, which is to say that I don't know what those things that are flying around are, if those are supposed to be fairies, but I love it when fairies look creepy.
Yeah.
So I'm in. The package is, it's the transporter. It's more than that. It's what would happen if Neil Gaiman wrote the transporter.
Yeah.
In a kind of in that kind of way. Mad Cave has been very hit or miss with some of their stuff. They've had great stuff like Nottingham, and then they've had other stuff that was like what was the book with the lions or the tigers, tiger something, whatever.
Oh yeah.
They're very hit or miss, but when they hit hard. This is one of those. John, if you're in the comments, this is one you should check out. Same for Ed.
Yeah.
Guys, these are books that if you came into my store, I would be putting in your pull box without asking you because I know you'll like them. So check this one out.
There we go.
All right. We have 1 minute left. Dan, tomorrow is what would have been if they hadn't screwed up Captain America?
If they hadn't, the idea they had before Civil War, which is based on another epic Captain America run that it's pretty old school. So,
and I will point out that if they hadn't called it Civil War, it would have changed the entirety of my timeline. This is one of those butterflies flapping its wing things where I might like superhero movies. All right. Sean and Jay are on Triangle of Truth over on YouTube. Plus, they're around here in the comments and doing shows all the time.
Yep.
I will be back on Friday with Nick for the art show. And this show is, as always, brought to you by comicshoplocator.com. Head over to comicshoplocator.com, type in the zip code of where you are, and it will tell you where comic book shops are nearby to you. We'll be back at this time next week, followed by Mint to Skim It, followed by our new show that I can't really say yet, and then followed by Country Roads Comics, which is on tonight at 9:30. So you get an hour and a half for dinner, and then we're back. So we'll see you guys later.
Later.
night, everybody.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree, to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.